How's it going, everyone? Today's video we're going to be working on something different for a change. Not totally different to the channel, but totally different in the sense of we're usually working on the Ram. So I got the Viper almost back together, and I'm going to be doing some stuff to hopefully button it up and get it back together. So we had the clutch out, we had the transmission out, replaced the clutch, and replaced the slave clutch cylinder. So the old slave is over there, but regardless, when you pull the transmissions on these cars, you have to take out the slave clutch cylinder and actually disconnect it. This one was old, and since it's out, it's a good idea to replace it. It's really not that expensive. It's like $70 or somewhere around there for a good branded one. So we ended up replacing it, and what I'm in the process of doing right now is just replacing the fluid. So it's a little bit dark in here. And I'm gonna suck out this old fluid because I got some brand new .4 that we're gonna be putting in there. So I have this here, this suction, I don't know what it's exactly called. I guess a Mighty Vac, a lot of people call it. But it's a suction pump, and we're gonna suck out that old fluid rather than trying to dab it with the paper towel. It just makes it easier to use this. Suck that out, put some new fluid in, go up top, and try to crack the bleeder. And I also have some other stuff I have to button up. I still have to put transmission fluid in as I'm pointing to the exhaust. The exhaust has to go back on. I gotta fill it up with transmission fluid, which we have over there. I have to put that tiny little drive shaft back in and tighten up all the universal joints. So a few more things to get done. Also, I have the skid plate back there behind that crawler. All that stuff has to go on. Let's get down to work and down to business. Alright, so we got some nice clean fluid in there, and I overfilled it for now, just since we're going to end up pulling it down. I might try to use a vacuum pump on the bottom to get that down, but we're going to go ahead and put the car up now and button up that stuff on the bottom. So first things first, we're gonna go ahead and reattach our line because we haven't attached the brake line, even though it's not, we just topped up with fluid, it doesn't puke out. So unless we start playing with the master clutch cylinder or playing with the pedal up there. So what I'm doing right now is I'm putting on a new gasket, so a new rubber O-ring that was supplied, and then we can go ahead, and I just wiped it off. We can pop it back into our slave. Okay, so the line is now seated, and we can go ahead and probably crack that bleeder and see if anything comes out with gravity or see what happens there. Okay, so lucky enough, it does bleed out just with gravity, so got some steady stream of fluid here. I'm just gonna tighten it up for a second. That'll be cool if we can bleed it that way and don't have to go through too much hassle. Just be aware that brake fluid does eat through paint, so not going to do anything to the outside of our aluminum casing here except for make it shinier, but just be aware of that depending on where it's coming in contact with. So, okay, so we have fluid here. Next I'm going to put the inspection plate back on here, and we'll go to the next step. So we'll put on the inspection plate like so. There are 4 bolts. I still got to clean up the bottom of this engine because now that the transmission is spotless, there is some kind of dust and dirt. I know it sounds ridiculous, but when you have a car that's everything looks clean underneath and it doesn't really see much normal use like this, it's nice to have everything clean, especially when you're working on it. So at some point I'll probably get under here and wash the bottom of this engine, even though it's not leaking anything. It just kind of got years of dirt and grime everywhere. Next I'm going to pop the starter motor up there. Looks like I didn't have to take it out, but sometimes the bolts go all the way into the transmission housing. In this case it doesn't, but it's kind of cool. I got to take it off, at least clean it, and a bunch of grime on it anyway, so whatever. Let's throw it back in. Next up, we're going to install this huge drive shaft into the back of the transmission and to our differential. Next up's installing the rear portion of the exhaust, so this Y pipe thing that comes through here, we're gonna install that. Next up, we're removing the transmission fill plug from the side. You just use like a 3/8 ratchet like this and take out this bolt. So right now it's empty. And you guys are probably gonna be as surprised as I am to learn this, but the best fluid, according to people that are in the know and Tick Performance that rebuilt the transmission, is to use just a basic ATF Dextron 3E fluid, and just something like this. They said almost the cheaper the better, crazy enough, because this is just the fluid that's the best to use. Start putting any synthetic fluid in there and it can do different stuff with the synchros, so just a super basic fluid, because this is a pretty basic transmission, but that's what they want in there. That's what it calls for, so we're just gonna go ahead and put that in. Myself, just as much as you guys, would probably like to put something a little bit, we'll spend a bit more money on it, but everyone, and I searched the forums, everyone said just to stick with the basic ATF fluid in there and go from there. So we're gonna pump that stuff in there. Should take about 4 liters or 4 quarts, and once it starts puking out of the side of this hole here, transmission is full. So this is just a fluid transfer pump. We'll stick this end of the hose in there. The other end is in the jug, and it's pump away. There's some other methods you guys can use. You can get different things, like one that connects to a drill, but this thing is very simple, very primitive, but I mean, if you're doing this every day, you'd probably want to get something better, but for the amount of times that I honestly need to do this, it's not a big deal for me. There it is. So you can see it pouring out now, which indicates that the transmission is now full. So I'm going to take this out. I'll just put it back in the jug of oil for now until we empty out the pump. So we got oil in there. I just put a little bit of Teflon on the actual bolt, and we can go ahead and toss this back in. Just snug on the bolt. We don't want to go crazy with it. Not necessary completely, but always nice to just clean it off with some brake clean. That way you don't get any oil sticking to your transmission, especially a new transmission in this case. And we're ready to put the skid plate back on. Alright, so the belly pan is all on, everything's tight, fluids are all in, and only last thing to do is to reconnect the battery and put this panel back in, and install the shifter inside because we still have it off since the transmission was out, but that's about it. So I'm going to bring it down. I'm probably going to pop this wheel off so that I can get this panel in, and we'll continue. Next up, let's pop this wheel off. So after a bunch of fiddling around, this back panel is finally in. You can throw the wheel on and we are done. Finally time to set this old girl back on the ground. Alright, here goes the infamous cold start. And this is after probably like a month and a half, almost 2 months of sitting, so should be interesting. Alright you guys, so that is going to do it for today's video. The Viper is finally back in commission. So I just finished cleaning it and she cleans up nice. Even though it looked clean before, it was actually pretty dirty and cleans up nicely. But that's going to do it. If you guys like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. Hopefully there's more Viper content on the way. We haven't forgot about the Hell Ram. Still in the process, but yeah, we have a few things to work out and hopefully get back to the track. I need a drive shaft loop at this point, but I'll explain more in another video with the truck. Okay guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.